Devika felt the cool blade against her scalp, a gentle but decisive pressure as each swath of hair fell away. She sat in the courtyard of her childhood home, eyes closed, recalling all that had led her to this moment. As the barber's hand guided the razor carefully along her head, she could hear the soft snipping and the hushed murmur of onlookers. She had chosen this. She wanted to leave her old self behind, to start anew with nothing weighing her down. Earlier that morning, she had risen before dawn. She'd been haunted by memories of heartbreak and disappointment, of a life weighed down by expectation. She yearned for release. Her grandmother had always told her that shedding one's hair could be a path to clarity, letting go of vanity, of the past, and of regrets. Devika finally decided she was ready. Once the final lock fell, Devika stood up and ran her hand across her newly shorn scalp. She felt lighter, more awake. Her reflection in the small mirror startled her at first. Her features seemed more pronounced, her eyes more direct, but there was a serene beauty to her bald head. This was who she was now, unburdened. After the shave, Devika walked down to the nearby river. Morning sunlight bathed the banks in a soft glow. In the shallow water, a robed ascetic was chanting, and nearby, two women were playfully washing their hair. One woman was also bald, her head smooth as a pebble, while the other still had her dark tresses. The ascetic, plump and jovial, offered a blessing with a playful grin as Devika entered the water. She felt the river's gentle current swirl around her ankles, then up to her waist. In that moment, Devika submerged herself, the water enveloping her body and her newly shaved head. She felt every drop against her scalp, a new sensation, like a cool caress of freedom. As she emerged, droplets trickled down, and she imagined them carrying away her old regrets. The women in the river smiled at her in encouragement, as though welcoming her into a sisterhood of renewal. The ascetic offered a small, knowing nod. Stepping onto the riverbank, Devika felt reborn. The sun warmed her skin, and she was keenly aware of her own breath, her own heartbeat. There was no hiding behind locks of hair, no pretense. She was simply herself. She bowed to the ascetic in gratitude, and in return, he passed her a small lotus flower, symbolic of purity and spiritual awakening. Devika tucked the flower gently against her chest, feeling a surge of hope and purpose. It was a reminder that, like the lotus rising from muddy waters, she could transcend her past, grow, and blossom into someone stronger and more compassionate. That evening, Devika returned home with a sense of calm and quiet joy. Her family and friends were surprised, but they saw in her eyes that this was not an act of rebellion but a step toward self-discovery. As she prepared to rest, Devika reflected on how a single, bold decision, shaving her head, had awakened a new sense of possibility. Sometimes, to truly see ourselves, we must let go of everything we once clung to.